Well, good afternoon here on your Sunday. Jeff Cole along with John Kubis to talk about some winter weather. We have rain, freezing rain, the icing, we have wind, we have significant snow to talk about, and this is going to wrap up 2025. So going out with a bang here with this forecast. Happy to be here on your Sunday to give you this information in here to do that. So a few things to talk about. I guess, John, let's talk first of the rest of our Sunday, or when the weather changes. When do we see something change here?
By this evening, Jeff. A couple of things. You said it quite well, as a matter of fact. We've got a multifaceted storm heading our way. It's off to the west right now. And a couple of things I am watching. The freezing rain later on tonight and tomorrow morning as well. Now, I think the worst of the ice accumulation will be north of the city of Watertown and up along the river. That's where the heaviest icing will be, so to speak. Everything should be below a half an inch, and that's my threshold for just kind of a nuisance to a big deal. So I think this is going to be more of a nuisance than anything else, but we'll definitely have to watch this overnight tonight and tomorrow morning as well. Then it turns windy and it turns very cold, and that'll set the stage for some heavier lake effect snow starting as soon as tomorrow afternoon. If you're outside right now, out and about, it's all quiet, right? Actually, quite pleasant out there. Temperature is very seasonable for the time of year, just some passing clouds, and you'd hardly know that there's a big storm heading our way, but let's dive right into it, shall we? Lots of advisories, lots of warnings in place, and we'll go through them one by one. We're going to break the storm up into a couple of segments. We're going to unpack this, so to speak. First, we'll talk about the icing, then the winds, and then that potential for some heavier snow. So this is going to be rather a long video, and hopefully you stick around for the entire thing, because those snow amounts by next weekend look really impressive. It's going to be a big dump. We haven't seen one of these in a couple of years. All right, winter weather advisory in place for the blue. Notice a different start and end time in Jefferson County, Lewis County, and also St. Lawrence County as well. Here in Jefferson County and Lewis County, starting at 4 p.m., so in just a couple of hours, lasting right through Monday at 10 a.m. Looks like freezing rain potentially up to 0.3 of an inch, which puts us underneath that half an inch threshold for the worst of any icing anyways, but still a bit of a nuisance, mainly up along the river. In the blue, in St. Lawrence County, winter weather advisory for that potential, for that ice, that freezing rain, 0.4 of an inch for you. A little bit more, think Waddington up towards Messina, where that cold air will kind of stick around a little bit longer after midnight tonight. Looks like the start time on that, 7 p.m., so looks like about, 4, 5, 6 hours away, and then lasting right through Monday at 4 p.m., so a little bit later end time for you the further north you go. And there's a reason for this messy weather heading our way. Big spin of the atmosphere west of Chicago, and you can kind of see all that moisture right now along and ahead of this feature. That's a whole lot of precipitation over towards Buffalo, Chicago, and also down towards the Ohio Valley as well. All this activity is pushing up to the north and east, and where that cold air will stay in place along the St. Lawrence River Valley. That's where we'll be dealing with the majority of the ice. The actual low itself is tracking quickly to the north and east. It'll track over Michigan. It looks like later on tonight, and eventually track up into Canada, and that's going to allow that cold front to push on through tomorrow mid-morning, say around 8, 9, 10 o'clock or so. And when those winds turn more west-northwesterly, that's going to get that cold air involved with Lake Ontario, setting the stage for the heavier lake effect snow. And those totals by the end of this next week and also the upcoming weekend look really impressive. All right, notice the futurecast around 7 o'clock or so. Here comes the mess, mainly green. It looks like south of Clayton, south of Hammond, south of, looks like Canton and Wanakina, where temperatures will be just above freezing, but north of there, say up around Ogdensburg, Messina. Also, it looks like Potsdam and Canton temperatures flirting with, if not a little bit below freezing. So that's where we'll see that ice accumulate. This run of the model, really not all that bullish as far as a lot of ice. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how this plays out. Some other weather models are showing a little bit more in the way of ice accumulation, especially after midnight tonight and tomorrow as well. So keep that in the back of your mind too. This is freezing rain. This is all subject to change. We'll see how deep that cold air stays up along the river and how long it sticks around too. But it looks like for the most part, we change over to all rain, according to this run of the model, mind you, around 5, 6, 7 o'clock or so. Look at these temperatures too tomorrow morning. I mean, they're saying 50 degrees at Fort Drum, 49 here in the city, 46 in Barnes Corners, and temperatures still holding back into the middle to upper 30s around Messina and Ogdensburg. That's some heavier rain as well, so it looks like that's the actual front that'll push on through, and On the back side of that front, there you see already temperatures dropping back into the 30s. That's courtesy of that cold air, and then we'll be talking about the potential for some heavier lake effect snow. Expected ice, this is off the graph model once again, and notice it's not really all that bullish as far as showing a whole lot of ice accumulation. If it were up to me, and I was actually doing this forecast model, I would have ice somewhere around like this, just north of the city of Watertown. I think that's where the worst of the ice is going to be. Anywhere from, say, a quarter of an inch to potentially just under a half an inch. Think Cape Vincent, Lafargeville, Norwood, Norfolk, Waddington, Ogdensburg. Massena, you're probably get the most of the ice, so to speak. You're the furthest to the north and you'll remain the coldest. Who else is up there? Like Omar, you get the general idea. Right up along the river and also just south of the river, that's where the heaviest ice should be. So we'll definitely have to watch to see how this plays out. This weather model updates every 6 hours, so I'm looking forward to the latest runs to come out over the next hour or two. And of course, we'll have to watch and wait and see to see how much ice there's going to be. But rest assured, it's going to be a bit of a mess north of the city up along the river. And that ice will eventually melt quickly tomorrow morning before the next bout of cold air works on in. Let's talk about those winds. There will be a wind component to this system. There's a lot going on, right? High wind warning in place. Well, it'll start Monday at 7 a.m., lasting right through Tuesday at 1 a.m. for Jefferson County. Wind gusts potentially to 60 miles per hour. That'll be from more of a westerly direction, and that'll set the stage for some heavier lake effect snow that we will be dealing with all next week. Wind advisory for the Brown in St. Lawrence County Monday at 10 a.m., lasting right through Monday at 10 p.m. Wind gusts potentially to 50 miles per hour. And not to be left out, just added to the list, so to speak, Lewis County and also a good chunk of central New York, wind advisories in place. A little bit later, or a little bit earlier start time, I might add, Monday at 7 a.m., lasting right through Monday at 4 p.m., wind gusts potentially to 55 miles per hour. That won't necessarily be a bad thing. Behind the front, stronger winds. That's going to cut back on those snow totals, at least for about 24 to 36 hours. By the middle to end of next week, we're really going to see those winds die off a bit, and that's really going to pile up that snow, especially on the Tug Hill Plateau. We might even see some snow here in the city as well. I think we will. All right, let's talk about those wind gusts. Notice later on tonight, around 10 o'clock or so, notice the direction. Massena, northeast in Ogdensburg, and also in Hammond as well. That's going to funnel down that colder air from Canada, courtesy of that northeasterly wind flow. That's why we'll see the majority of the ice wherever you see more of a northeasterly wind flow right through here. Hence my thinking that that's where the heaviest ice is going to be. It looks like more of a southerly wind, meaning temperatures will be comfortably above freezing here in the city. Harrisville points south, Wanakina points south as well. It's your typical setup. We see this all the time in the wintertime, right? That northeasterly wind along the river producing that heavier ice, mainly north of the city of Watertown. Look at these winds gusting to approaching 40 miles per hour by tomorrow morning. Will easily be near 50 mile per hour winds by, say, 10 a.m. or so. And those winds really start to howl tomorrow afternoon. This is behind the front. You can see that. Look at those, that westerly component to the winds as opposed to that southerly component. Southerly component tomorrow morning, meaning the front hasn't moved through. More of a westerly component by the afternoon, and winds gusting to around 50 miles per hour, meaning that cold air is in place and is working on. And I would not want to be out and about tomorrow night because I don't like the cold and I don't like the wind and I like to see where I'm going, and those winds will howl and that snow will really get going. It looks like tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. There you see it Tuesday at 2 p.m., more of a northwesterly wind flow. That indicates to me that band of lake effect will be mainly in central New York, but we'll see a little bit of upslope snow. Think Adirondacks and Tug Hill Plateau. All right, that covers the ice, that covers the wind. Let's go ahead and take maybe a 30-minute or 30-second break, I should say, and then we'll get into the actual snow, how much we're expecting for next week.
Running through this forecast as we have some winter weather to talk about here live on your Sunday afternoon. Jeff Cole along with John Kubis. John just went through very well with all the icing that is going to be coming, the potential of some significant icing for some folks. So before we move on to the snow, because that's the backside of this, more colder air, lake effect snow coming in, and really impressive snow totals that John's going to give us. Let's just recap a little bit about the ice and a couple of questions or a couple of things I want to point out. Whenever we talk about icing and we see some numbers like a third of an inch, fourth of an inch, even just under half an inch. That, of course, is going to stick to your power lines, your trees. People get worried about icing, and your threshold, as you mentioned, is half an inch or lower. Usually is something we can deal with okay.
More of
right?
a nuisance than anything else, right? Anything a half an inch, you're going to lose. You might lose some branches.
Sure.
You may lose power briefly, but it's that half inch or above threshold.
Where it really gets weighty.
That's where
Yeah.
it's.
But the
not-
winds don't help either. And so we have these wind gusts that John was talking about that's going to be significant as well. I guess the good thing out of this is once we get that icing, and John kind of zeroed in and realized it's along the river, but a little bit more than what the National Weather Service or some of the models are showing. Once we get that to move through, our temperatures warm up. So any of that icing is going to melt.
For a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Only for a couple of hours, and that cold air moves on in by 9 a.m. tomorrow.
But that at least doesn't allow that ice to stay on
Right.
the power lines or the tree limbs, and then the snow or something else comes in
Right.
beyond that. So there is a point where we're going to warm up, and there may be a point where you think, oh, that's all it was. And then we have the lake effect snow that's going to be coming in. And so this all begins tonight with your Sunday, talking about some rain and some freezing rain coming in. And then let's have John go through the lake effect snow, because once that cold air comes in and you have those winds coming and what's going to be coming off of the lake, some pretty significant stuff happening for this week coming up. So a day or two out as we're expecting the snow.
It's going to be terrible. Next week is going to be.
This week.
Oh, yeah. I keep saying next week. I mean this week. This week coming up. Here we go. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks. It's been a weird couple of days, right, with the holidays. All right, let's talk about this week coming up, because today is Sunday after all. A winter storm warning in place in the pink. Actually, if you go ahead and take that full, that'd be great. I appreciate it. Heavy lake effect snow. Notice the start time, Monday at 4 p.m. Notice the end time. Yeah, Saturday, 7 a.m. So we're talking the entire week. We're going to be dealing with that heavy lake effect snow. So all week long, and the band's going to be moving around quite a bit. There's actually a couple of different little storm systems that'll pass on by after the main event tomorrow, and that'll oscillate that band. It'll be like a fire hose, kind of giving a little bit of snow to everybody, and a whole lot of snow to the Tug Hill Plateau. We'll check out the graph model and also the GFS model here in a couple of minutes as far as how much snow we're going to get. Snow gets going by tomorrow afternoon, and then Monday at 9:30 in your evening. Notice that more of a northwesterly wind flow kind of pushes that band into central New York. What you're seeing there with that little bit of blue around Potsdam, Canton, Wanakena, Lowville, Barnes Corners, that's more of a northwesterly wind flow, and that's going to set the stage for what's called an upslope flow. You can kind of see that flow right through there. It's hard to see the flow. I get that. I don't have wind barbs on here, but I'm kind of drawing them in, and you're seeing a northwesterly wind flow. That means heavy lake effect snow down towards Syracuse, down towards Central Square, and what you'll see is that upslope flow, meaning Tug Hill Plateau and also the Adirondacks. We'll see some snow, courtesy of that lift generated by the topography, right? You increase in elevation as you get into the Adirondacks and also the Tug Hill. Notice around Tuesday around 2 p.m., there you see Tug Hill Plateau and also more towards Old Forge getting some of that snow. That's more of a westerly wind. And that'll set the stage for a whole lot of accumulation, mainly south of the city of Watertown. How much snow are we talking? This is the graph model. It only goes out like 48 hours. So kind of what you see is what you get here. Tuesday at 2 p.m. This is now until Tuesday afternoon. Anywhere from a couple of inches around Ogdensburg, Hammond. This is snow, not ice. We already looked at the ice, right? 3 inches here in the city, 3 inches around Messina. That might be a little bit overdone. I'm liking what I'm seeing around Redfield, Barnes Corners, also Harrisville, anywhere from maybe 6 to potentially a foot or more of snow, mainly Tug Hill Plateau. Wanakena, 5 inches. That looks good to me. 3 inches around Potsdam, 5 inches around Harrisville. All right, let's check out the GFS. Here we go. This is from now until next weekend. That's impressive, Jeff. 33 inches here in the city. That might be a little bit overdone. We're looking at a forecast model. I never show this on TV. But I'm showing
And the first model that you show only goes out 48 hours. So you can't go ahead this far
Right.
with the other models. That's why John is looking at this one, because we have this storm system that's going to be here and have residual effects as we move through this week.
Mm-hmm.
And so this model here, the GFS, will show you, you can see at the top of your screen, taking us till a week from today. And now we're talking some significant snow. So this is just sort of, as you said, that lake effect snow is just going to kind of be a fire hose and last all week long, and it's going to snow someplace.
It's going to, and I'm glad you mentioned that, number one. Number two, this is, okay, lake effect snow is very small. We all know that. It's I mean, you're in and out of it in a couple of miles. The GFS weather model it's a low resolution model. And by that, I mean, the data points are, I believe, don't quote me, but they're like 8, 9, 10 nautical miles apart. And lake effect is only 2 to 3 miles wide. So to see this on one of these large scale models like this tells me that there's going to be a whole lot of snow falling in parts of the area. Now, 32 inches here in the city, that's probably overdone, right? I mean, 3 feet at Fort Drum, or 2 feet anyways, that's probably overdone. What I'm liking here is right through here, where you're seeing 4, 5, potentially 6 feet or more over towards the Tug Hill Plateau. I mean, that's a lot of snow. And it's really going to come on down next week, right through or this week, and right through the following weekend as well.
So, this is going to oscillate, right? North-south, north-south.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
But it looks like if this holds true, that, of course, as usual, the Tug Hill will be either on the leading edge of it if it's down south, or at the bottom of it. It's always going to be in the bullseye here.
I think I like that bullseye.
Yep.
I like that bullseye right there. 177 just south. That's more that westerly wind. I like that bullseye. So I'm thinking Barnes Corners. Your usual suspects: Barnes Corners, Worth, Adams, Mansville, Lowville getting a lot of snow over towards Old Forge, Wanakina. That might be a little bit too far north.
Is this heavy, wet snow, or what?
No, this will be that
Okay.
good skiing
Yep.
snow, because the temperatures are going to be so cold. This is going to be true lake effect.
And it's going to blow around pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
As well,
Oh,
what are
yes.
what are the winds going to be as we go through the lake effect?
Winds will subside a bit. I think the worst of the winds should end by late Tuesday, early Wednesday. So after that, this is just going to be heavy snow. Everything's going to come together.
Yeah, National Weather Service in their stuff that they're talking about, saying travel throughout this will be nearly impossible at times,
Yep.
and that's because of the wind. You think because
Oh, yeah.
it could create those whiteout conditions?
Well, it's just, and if the snow, let's say the snow falls 2, 3, 4 inches an hour,
Yeah, tough to see.
there you go.
Yep,
Especially
definitely.
on 81.
Right.
Especially on 81.
And has the lake cooled off at all? You probably don't know.
I haven't
this,
looked.
right? Yeah. I mean, we've had colder weather, right? Colder earlier, and so
We did.
We've been below average, and so that was, an interesting point or an interesting question if whether or not it cooled it off some.
It cooled off a bit, but last I checked, which would have been maybe a week or two ago, temperatures were still running a bit above average.
Okay.
So we've got that. At our disadvantage as far as if you're not a fan of all the snow or not.
And then once this system is out of here, and I know that looking this far ahead is tougher, but does it quiet down, or are we in a weather pattern where it's going to be kind of one right after the other?
Check out that 7-day. There you go, Jeff. Tomorrow, 42, rain, ice, and snow, windy. Tuesday, there's that lake effect snow and windy conditions. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, dealing with that heavier lake effect snow. Full disclosure, I didn't look past that. Just trying to get through this week.
This week,
trying to get through the week.
this one all of a sudden is coming together, and it's science, and it's tough when it comes to lake effect. I mean, we know that's coming. We know what that's going to be, and 6 inches of lake effect compared to a foot of lake effect. Okay, it's tough to really get it that precise. Freezing rain is sort of like that as well. Less of a wiggle room there, because if you get just a little bit more of freezing rain, it could end up being worse than not. Right?
Bigger deal.
Could be a bigger deal.
Could be a bigger deal.
So, but again, freezing rain is so difficult to be precise with as well.
It's all about that. It's all about that surface wind. I mean, if that surface wind and that northeasterly wind flow, once you erode, that cold air is so hard to get rid of, and once it's gone, then everything switches over to rain, and it's harder to forecast for freezing rain than it is like snow.
So as we, what's going to be in our favor is the closer that we get to real actual time, it's better to forecast, right? And so here we are going into tonight, tomorrow morning. Beth will have a good handle on this in the morning for our morning broadcast and give you an update as to what's happening with the freezing rain and the lake effect that's coming as well. But really, it's that bit of freezing rain that people want to know about here. That's the first thing on the radar for us. It's going to be along the river, so St. Lawrence River Valley, looking at places you listed off, Ogdensburg, Waddington, Messina, maybe even a little bit more. You were saying Cape Vincent, Clayton, Lafargeville, I think just a few miles from the river.
And also, I have to watch Canton and Potsdam, too.
And again, maybe a quarter of an inch of icing, under half an inch. And again, that's below the threshold of like where John worries that there could be major problems if you have that sort of that sort of freezing rain. And again, the good thing is it's going to switch over and warm up, and whatever is sticking to the trees or power lines will melt.
Well, it should.
It should.
It
Okay.
should for a couple of hours. It should switch over to above freezing. That'll hopefully melt everything, and then it's just going to get cold again.
And then the lake effect. And the lake effect it's a couple of days out for lake effect. So that's the update. Anything else you want to add?
No, just be safe. Just be safe.
Could be a
Storm's
could be a
going to be a
mess.
big deal.
Yep. Could be a mess, but we're going to be watching it, and we're glad to be here again live on your Sunday afternoon to bring you this. Again, we'll have more updates as we get into the morning with Beth live on television, and you can stream that, of course, here on WWNYTV.com. And this will be something that we'll track throughout the week. So tune into our broadcast and all the app updates that we do on the weather app and our news app. So all of that stuff available to you. John, appreciate the coming in and analyzing it and putting it through what it needed to happen so that we could get a forecast here to folks on your Sunday afternoon. If you're watching television, go back to watching the football games. Have a good afternoon. And again, we'll see you on television later on for tomorrow. And Beth will be first thing in the morning. So enjoy your Sunday.